Boys don't become men simply by getting older. They must be shown the way. They must be initiated into manhood by other men. They need brothers. The world may be collapsing, but God is raising up good men to raise good men. It's one of the great God movements of our time, and you can be part of it. On the Dragon Slayers podcast, we interview ordinary men with extraordinary tales of conquering their fears and becoming fearless, loving men of God. Through their stories, you will hear rich wisdom, practical advice, and the value of brotherhood so you can stand out as a man among men. Warning, we will not mince words. We believe soft men and soft advice slay no dragons. So prepare yourself like a man. This is the Dragon Slayers podcast.
Craig Moseley, thank you so much for joining us from a hotel room. And appreciate you, man. I appreciate your strength everywhere you've added it in our lives. You are a man that we all have the most admiration for. And
True.
when I think of a man's role of provider, protector, connector, provider and protector and connector for sure, but protector kind of stands out. Like if I had to tell you that we're going to have to go bury a body, I think Craig would say, whose car are we taking? I just think
I got two shovels.
Yeah. I just think Craig is, he's going to be there. He's got your six. He's that kind of guy. So thanks, Craigster. I appreciate you joining us and appreciate all the adventures that we have been on. You're a Alaska native. You born and raised there. You raised your family there, right?
Wasn't born there, but I got there when I was around 5. But yeah.
Okay. Wow. I stand corrected. This whole time I thought you were born there. I thought you were born in an igloo.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. You were raised on one of those islands, though, weren't you?
Yeah. My family, we ranched on Chiricahua Island, just the south tip of Kodiak. We ranched on inland too, where I grew up on a homestead outside Palmer and dairied too. But yeah, we had a ranch on Chiricahua Island. And so ranched most of my younger life up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were you weren't raised in the most stellar of conditions. Why don't you tell us a little bit about growing up?
Conditions of living conditions.
Mom, dad, that whole scene.
Yeah. Lived out on a homestead, but my mom decided that she needed to find something else at a young age. And so us kids wound up living on our own from the time I was about 6.5, 7 years old till I was, I guess about 11, a little over 11. We lived on our homestead by ourselves, taking care of ourselves, going to school. So yeah, rough environment. But we made it. We had a 1963 convertible Impala, and we would drive that to the school bus stop with Sears Roebuck catalogs on the seat so we could see over the counter with steering wheel and 2x4s wired to the foot pedal.
Yeah, nothing like a convertible in Alaska in the morning. Yeah.
We made her.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, hold on. So stop. We have to clarify. When you say you're on your own, tell me when you say you're on your own, like, who else is there? Like you and who? You said 6.5 to 11, and you're talking about driving a convertible. Sit on, like, who's driving? Who are you driving? Like, what? I need to hear more about what you're talking about.
No. So I had two sisters. 2 years ahead of me. But really, it was me and my other sister there that lived by ourselves. Yeah, it's almost 3 years, I think it was. Neighbors would check on us and stuff like that. But yeah, we did.
I want to know what school has an 11-year-old rolling up in a convertible.
Well,
day after day.
We didn't drive it to school. We drove it to the school bus stop.
Okay.
which was actually 1.5 miles or 2 miles from the school. But that's how we got around. Besides that and spider bikes, but yeah, it was
Wow.
challenging times. So
Yeah.
I didn't grow up with a whole lot of parenting in that realm until I was yeah.
So when did some adults enter your life?
I was taken in by a family when I was 12, and so that's when they were homestead next to us, and they had, that's where I really got extra family, and just was raised by them until I was out of high school. Gained 2 brothers and a sister there that were part of that family, and so that's where I started seeing other adults. I basically outside really what we had there, which was my one brother right now. The other one passed away, but my other brother is not blood brother, but he is my brother. Very, very close. Still to this day. That was about but not, it was, I don't know, hard to say, but yeah, not great parenting, but good family structure, good work ethic, but far as raised me well in that realm, I should say. Hard work, good work ethic.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And eventually you end up meeting a girl named Sheila.
Yeah, I did. So how'd that happen? So there in Mosely, there's a cafe there called the Windbreak, which she worked at when she started, I think she was 16 there, back when we all worked when we were young. And I actually was, I know, we won't go off on that, but
we should.
Yeah, we should. But no, so she came in. I was actually building the stairs there, and I always tell this funny story because it's the owner invited her because he said, "You need to meet this girl," and I'm like, "Yeah." Well, she anyway brought lunch into us who were working on it was the bar part of the cafe, and I was holding up the stairs, and I had bought a brand new waffle hammer, and framing hammer, and I looked down at her. I seen her, and I was holding one hand. And I slipped, nailing a stair above my head there, and it pinged me right in the center of my forehead.
Oh, perfect.
And I could feel the blood dripping down my nose. I know she was down there right below the ladder, and I didn't want to stare down there because then for the next 2 weeks you walked around with this scab waffle on your forehead, which is but that was after I got past that point. I asked her out, and pretty well wanted to marry her that day, but she didn't see that well. But
she was catching up.
Yeah. So
the man who knows what he wants.
Definitely pursued that, and we married really young. So I married her when she was 19.
Yeah, and you got a batch of kids?
I do. I have 2 boys and a wonderful daughter.
Yeah, and some grandbabies.
I have 4 grandbabies. I got 2 grandsons and 2 granddaughters.
Boom. There you go.
Yeah, and more to come.
Sweet. That's great. So how long have you been married to Sheila?
Ooh, we're going to push 39 years this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Good stuff. Well, somewhere in your adventures, I remember hearing a story of you taking Sheila with you on some crazy rafting trip or something.
A cash witness. Yeah. So there's a river up there that I had done several times before. We carry a raft. It's a 26-mile hike up and over a mountain range to get to the river.
Carrying a raft.
Yeah, it's 83 pounds. It's
83 pound raft.
I know exactly what it weighs.
Hiking 26. Yeah, I'll bet you know how much it weighs. Yeah, 26 miles over some mountains. Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm with you. And Sheila's with you.
This is a date in Alaska.
Yeah.
Yeah. no, she decided she wanted to go at the last minute with a couple of guys, friends that we were going with. So anyway, but the part is if I have to carry the raft, you've got to carry all my gear too. So, so yeah, it was a very, it takes you about 3 to 4 days, depending on things, to get to the river on that hike up and over. So yeah. And I remember we finally made it to the river and it was just pouring down rain. I think, gosh, she might've been 27, 28 years old. And I remember looking down at the tent and I was outside because the night before there had been a bear and he came around the tent sniffing it. And she's
Because the
freaking
night
out.
before there had been a bear. Yeah. You know how to treat a girl. I tell you what. Yeah.
And she was just, yeah. So she was pretty freaked out about that. But anyway, so the next morning I get up, and just check out around the tent and everything's fine. But, and it's pouring down raining. She unzips the thing and I'm looking at her and she's trying to put on these wet wool socks and all this. And she's looking at me going, no woman should ever have to do this. But the problem is you're already in the game.
We're 3 days in, baby.
Point of no return.
We still got to go a long way, right?
We're blowing up the Uber now. Yeah.
She was a trooper. That's it's quite a raft trip. I've done it with both my boys, and I've taken quite a few men that actually pretty well. I had one that literally wanted to go back up over the mountains. He just this is not going to happen, So yeah, anybody starts telling me they don't want to do it or they can't do the trip, I just remind them, well, my wife did it, so you need to buy
it. Why don't you go home, tell my wife you couldn't do it, okay?
Tell Sheila.
I dare you. You sure you want to live through this?
Yeah. Well, she got jarred on that trip, but so it was kind of a little bit hard on her, but
geez.
But she will not eat. It's a hard time for her to eat pancakes with because I just use blackberry grease, the fat off of it. It's got a little smell to it, but I mean, it makes, but her pancake days, she remembers that because we made a lot of pancakes with, bear grease and blueberries. But
so that ended that. Okay.
That wasn't her treat of the day. That's for sure. Or the trip.
She got what? What did you say she got?
Giardia.
Giardia. It's a miserable thing to have on a trip.
Yeah. It's when all your insides want to go outside.
Yeah. Especially at the point of no return.
Yeah.
Turn it around.
Yeah. About 3 days in on a river all day. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah, that's it. That's
good, Sheila.
I got to poop. Could you pull the raft over? I got to poop again.
It's 30 seconds.
Oh, Lord.
Okay.
And so you were still married after this trip?
Yeah. Well, she found out soon enough because I did that trip actually the first year we were married. And I told her, that wasn't her first year. It was the first time I had done the trip. And anyway, I told her I'd be home in like 5 or 6 days because I figured, we carried a raft over, we floated down the river, but I showed up 15 days later.
Oh, gosh.
So she knew that she knew things could happen. So that's where
that happens at Christian's house all the time.
Oh yeah,
that happens all the time at Christian's.
Oh yeah. Because you can't, you're not calling people, right? You're not letting them know. So she just wondered.
He's dead.
We're 8, 9 days.
He's dead.
Yeah, he's supposed to be back.
Yeah.
That's wild.
No, she did. The last day, we were actually the last day of the float. She flew over with her boss because they finally got in the plane because they were trying to find us. And so she actually knew I was alive on the last day, but it was 15 days and that it took us that first time. So it was, so she knew she was in for a little bit of an adventure, I guess, as far as being married to me.
She still said yes.
I want to back it up a little bit because you said something. I mean, you said a lot of crazy things, but the point I want to back it up to is something you said about when you first saw Sheila and you were Casanova and smacked yourself with a hammer.
Yeah.
You said something. I wanted to marry. I wanted to marry the first day. She wasn't ready, but I pursued her.
Yeah.
The reason I want to go back there is there might be men listening who I feel like a lot of young men today don't actually even know how to pursue a woman.
Mm-hmm.
So, can you tell me a little bit, what did pursuit look like for you? Like when you were like, whoa, man, check her out. Like I need to find out more about this woman. Yeah. What did pursuit look like? How does a man start pursuing a woman he's interested in?
He cooks her pancakes
with bear grease.
Well, the first thing I had to do is I made sure that I got there because Bob told me she was closed. She would close the restaurant at night. So I went there to serve her. So I showed up like 15 minutes before closing. And when she had to close, I helped her vacuum the whole thing. I helped her clean. And then I said, how would you like to go out on a date? And then she informed me that she was dating somebody. And when she said the name, I found out that was one of my old best friends when I was younger. And I told her right then how you pursue her is like, dude, you can do a lot better with me than him. And so
I know that
I started that right off of, listen, I am a better man.
It worked.
I love it. It was true.
So humility. Yeah. Humility. Lead with humility and service. There you go.
And I have been vacuuming ever since.
Come on. I bet you have.
There's a key.
That just reminded me of there's something there to showing up and serving. One of my best friends, my childhood best friend growing up, Jordan, he's a firefighter down in the Bay Area, but he same thing, saw a woman, was like, whoa, I have to find out more about her. In a conversation, in a group setting, she was saying how there's a tree in her backyard that she needed to remove. He found out, which is a little bit creepy, but he's just a man pursuing a woman, found out through mutual friends where she lived and said, they got numbers, they were texting or whatever, and said, hey, I'm in front of your house. He had in front of her. I'm here to get that tree down. And she's like, you got to be joking me. And then he's like, I'm dead serious. So she comes out of the house. He comes out and he gets that tree down. They're few years into marriage and a couple of babies. So there's something to just serving a woman. So I love that, Craig. That's good.
That's it.
I think the thing we watch often is men will serve a woman to get married, but then the key is to keep it going.
Come on.
Yeah. So don't use it as a way to get what you want. You use it as a standard for is how it's gonna. Yeah. So Craig, that's beautiful.
Still vacuuming.
Still vacuuming. I love it.
Still vacuuming with the various 15-day stints in between. There we go. Yes. Yeah. Awesome. So good. Hey, Craig, what do you think is the most valuable contribution that you make to Sheila besides vacuuming?
I think I showed her strength to take care of her, to make sure she was taken care of. I mean, a lot of people would say differently, but she knew she would always be taken care of and providing for her, doing whatever I took to help provide for the family. But also, as I grew in marriage, is to really protect her and the stability of that. She grew up with 8 sisters and 2 brothers. So, and she was the youngest, off the youngest there. So, yeah, I think she, knowing that my background came from, she's seen something in me that she cherished was of the adventure part of it, the strength, but also just, I would say provision and, that I would always take care of her, protect her, the family. I think she just seen that strength, and really honored that strength.
Yeah. So to provide and to protect, and I know that you love this lady with all your heart. And then there were some rough patches in there. What would be the process of the connect piece where you learn to protect the connection? Tell that story a little bit.
First off, just, obviously I can go back. I did not bring into the marriage any kind of healthiness. I was very, I was a young guy and just all about myself. and didn't really understand how to treat that part of the connection. Work, strength, all that. But far as connection and intimacy of cherishing that person, with my mom leaving me at a young age, obviously I didn't have that nurturing effect. Pretty selfish. So in that part, it was a lot of it focused on me in that realm. And so not understanding how to cherish that connection, seen right away, that's something that I did not want to carry into my marriage. But if you don't pursue what you don't know, you're going to fall back in that same aspect, which I could see myself doing that. And then I knew that I was going to you just will pass that to your children. I don't care what you say unless you change. So I knew that I needed to have a change to be able to change my children, to change the generation. So we went to a lot of counselings, a lot of marriage counselings and stuff. But my ultimate is to see that that I used to Philippians 2:3, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but in humility. I always replace it with her, but in humility, consider her better than myself. Look not to my interest, but her interest. And my attitude should be that of Christ Jesus towards her. And I use that every day. And I worked on it every day. But we had a crisis in our marriage around 10 years, and we chose to go to a healing house for 7 days. For 3 of the days, they separated us to work on us. And I really found out where a lot of my healing needed to happen. And then they brought us back together for 4 days. And we would tell you that is a turning point in our lives, in our marriage, that we chose. We were supposed to go to a trip to Israel, and we chose to go to that healing house because we knew that if we didn't change this, we were not going to change our children, our grandchildren. We were not going to change the dysfunction, of divorce in her lives. All of her sisters been divorced once or twice. All my family, all divorced. So we were the last people that never have. So we together battled that to say, no, that's not an option. So we had to pursue connection. And mine was she's my darling. And I started that she's everything. And she's even over my kids. At first, I have to take care of her. And so we have pursued that really together through some pretty hard times. But yeah, I would say that's kind of a mile marker there.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. Craig, there's lots of stories that we could go into here. I often describe Craig as the man that saved my life twice. But one of the
you owe him. I tell you what.
I don't know. I will never pay you back, other than my wife will be thanking you the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
But that story's in the book, so go get the book if you haven't already. The one of the stories that's actually highlighted to me, I'm not sure if I've ever told you this in person, but we had a trip in Kodiak where you saved my life the first time, and then we went to the snow machine trip at Mount Denali. Is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you and I were driving there and just kind of catching up and saying hi and hearing about life. And you made this statement that I probably shared in public a few times since, but it just did something for me as a father of daughters. And I think it was just you kind of sharing things you've learned, and probably very simple advice for you. But it made this mark that I think is so important. And what you said is, when our daughters go through puberty and their bodies change, as fathers, we cannot stop hugging them like they're our little princess. And I think there's layers to this. Like I think as dads, we have to deal with our own sexual brokenness as fathers and as men. Because if any of that works its way into our relationship with our daughters, it just messes up the picture. But just that simple thing you said, we have to actually continue to hug our girls with that bear hug from 2 years old to 20 years old. And, my girl now, that was 4 or 5 years ago. She's 18 and it hasn't turned off. But almost every time I hug her, I'm hearing Craig in the back of my head, don't stop that pursuit of your daughter, because there's something that takes place. So If for no other reason, I'm sharing this just to say it out loud, just for you to hear. But I think there's a key there for men, with daughters especially, that feels so vital.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
well, I think
Okay.
it speaks to like where that happened. So just to clarify, like it's like, okay, so we're on our way. Like Danny organized, or Danny had the idea to put together. I feel like Craig organized. Craig and Shane organized this epic snow machine trip we keep referencing on the podcast, where we're going out 70 miles. I've never been in a situation like this in my life. So like, what you're talking about though. So like,
Yeah,
being together with men, taking time away from our families to spend together.
that's right.
And not in some organized talk or sit down thing, but just in a car ride on the way out to go do something fun together. Craig dropped something on Ben that deeply moved him, and that he thinks about daily, because he sees and hugs his daughter all the time. That's amazing. And one of the things from that trip that I remembered is we were stopping to get gas before we left. Whatever is left of, I already felt like I was out of civilization when we were in Wasilla. So like we were leaving
little gas station.
Yeah, the gas station.
Yeah.
We were leaving like any kind of buildings or anything. So the little speck of civilization that I was about to leave at a gas station. Ben just hopped out of Craig's truck, comes over to me, and doesn't even really say anything. He just like points at me and then points over to Craig's truck and go, "Your turn. Like, go sit in there."
Yeah. Okay.
And
You're
I'm
up.
like, what? I guess I'm gonna go ride with Craig.
Go to the doctor.
And same thing. And this is just speaking to Craig's gift of being a man maker. I sat in that car, and it's the first time me meeting Craig. My first, I've heard about him, seen him on calls, but the first time sitting with him, and he immediately just starts speaking in strength into my life as a man, asking me questions about my family. And so I just wanted to stop and pause and say, like,
That's right on.
one of the things we're doing with Dragon Slayers is like going and doing things together, wild, crazy things together. And when we spend time together, these beautiful interactions where we sharpen each other happen.
Eric, can you put that picture of the back of us up there?
The back of us.
There's a picture.
there you go.
That I don't know if you can see it, Craig, but we're hanging off the back of that boat in Larson Bay there on Kodiak Island. This is towards the end of our 7-day trip together. There's deer carcasses swinging on the boat behind us there, Yeah. And I'm just telling you how much I love you and appreciate you, and how much I appreciate the strength that you've poured into the men around you. And I probably thanked you for saving Ben's life, and kind of in a ricochet way saving my life as well, because Brittany would have killed me because she couldn't kill Ben because he's dead. So this was really, that was a tender moment. I love that picture right there, and it just speaks of all the adventures that you've been a part of in my life. I think of you just have a unique way of seeing men. I mean, I know that you're I don't know what your official title is. Are you a private contractor? Or are you what exactly is your
I work for SD Construction.
supervisor?
Yep, superintendent would be the best, probably. Yeah,
construction superintendent. So you end up with all these young bucks coming through that are trying to figure out how to not hit themselves in the forehead with a waffle hammer, and as a result, I mean, you end up fathering, a tribe of men.
Yeah.
Why don't you just kind of point out to us really what is it that you're intending to do when you offer to put on a different hat than the superintendent hat for these guys?
Yeah, like at lunchtime, or not even lunchtime, my office, I kind of leave it open. I call it the bullpen. And I've always told them, I said, before work starts and at lunchtime, it's open to discussion. It's not. So I take off the superintendent hat and I'll tell them I'm putting on the dad hat. So it's just open to discussion. So I let that happen. And it's amazing how many guys, construction can be a rough atmosphere. a lot of times rough situations of guys and where they've come from seem to gravitate through construction guys per se. So my heart is just to hear where they've come from, and know that they to see where they've come from, but to be able to start implementing things into them, to ask them questions, what they, what do they want? What is they're pursuing? And if they're not married, why aren't you married? And if you're dating, why are you dating? Why, I guess I push those envelopes of looking for them to step up and be that responsible man or father, or wherever they're at in the stage of life. Because I just love seeing them grow. I love seeing them. I mean, sometimes it's seeing old guys cry, but heck, I do that. And it's that breakthrough that they finally see the worthiness and stuff. So I love seeing guys grow. I love seeing them being healed, but I see them to be able to have healthy families. And, obviously with my childhood, you either go one way or another. And mine was to be better and to better those people around me. And my heart's just to young guys. Hopefully, you can get some wisdom and help them along the way before they get too far into possibly marriage or make mistakes. So it seems like I keep a lot of young guys around. I just enjoy being with them and hearing them, put a big ear on and listen and just ask some questions, and every now and then just possibly give some input.
Yeah. I mean, what is it that you understand about the heart of a man that makes you such an effective leader of men?
We need I think it's to me is camaraderie and a covenant relationship. I didn't have that, and I was blessed to develop that with other men when I was younger that pursued me, and I seen the value of that, of raising my own children, and I just cherish that covenant relationship of doing life with men. And so I've been honored to do life with, like you. I've known you for, I think we're fixing to go on 23, 24 years now. I call it doing life. And, but I just see the good in them. And my heart is to see them pursue the strength that God's put in them and their purpose for life, and to father well, to pass it on well, not just be here, but generationally wise to grow and pass it on. I get excited about seeing that in them, and I guess sometimes I have a hard time explaining that. It's their heart. Yeah.
I hear it. I hear you. One of the fun things about this podcast, you get such amazing guys in our Dragon Slayers group I've talked to, but at the same time, I'm going right and down like, I've never heard him say that like that before. Like, I'm going to do that. Because what I heard you say, Craig, a couple of things in there I think is important is what you know about the heart of men that makes you such an effective leader of men is that you understand that they need other men in their life. They need that camaraderie. And you said you learned that because you experienced it, because someone pursued you. Mm. And that taught you, oh, this is how we do it. I need to pursue men. This is why you have that open door policy, why you have the bullpen. And this is what we're doing with Dragon Slayers, this idea that you would seek out other men because you understand the importance of covenant relationship in your own life, and you impart that onto others, and they replicate, and it's amazing. And I also wanted to touch on that thing you said, because it sounds like a formula. I'm listening going, okay, I want to do this. The young men that I spend times around are my young boys and coaching their team. So it doesn't change. It's still the same for them. It's a different delivery maybe, but it's still the same. I heard you say you invited them, like, hey, lunchtime after like there's an invitation, there's an open door. Come, if you want to talk about something, I'm open. So there's an invitation. And then there's I love hearing their stories. I put my big ear on. I ask questions. So it's like you see them. Yeah. Like, I see you. I accept you. Whatever you got going on, I see you. And then that moves and gives you a place of trust in their life. And you say, sometimes I get to give advice, sometimes, or I challenge them, or I might say, hey, here's something he said, you call it pushing the envelope, but here's this, actually, I'm going to call you to something greater. Here's this thing you don't yet see maybe about yourself or that's good for you that you don't know. I'm going to tell you about, I'm going to set a standard out there. And because I've built trust and spent time with you, you might entertain that idea. And I'm going to encourage you to go there. And they do. And of course, and that's why men love you, man. That's why men want to go spend time in the truck with you, because they just want to be around you because you call them to something greater. And I thought you explained it wonderfully.
Yeah.
And I'll be doing that. Hey, Dragon Slayers, you're going to want to pick up Danny Silk's new book, The Way of the Dragon Slayer, 7 Reasons Men Need Brothers. If you're listening to this podcast and you're going, man, I need some more of this in my life. I need to know what those 7 dragons are. I need to know how to slay them. And I need a template, a playbook to gather men around me, to get my own 12 so that I can experience what I'm hearing about on this podcast. Then you got to get the book. Here's another reason you need to get this book. Every single person who pre-orders the book right now is going to get an exclusive Zoom interview with Danny and John Eldridge. I mean, talk about a couple of mighty men of God. They're going to impart some wisdom on you and some practical advice that's going to change your life. Everyone who pre-orders the book gets that. But guess what? 250 people who pre-ordered the book are going to win exclusive Dragon Slayers merch. We're talking about single release merchandise. You're going to get a hat that will never reproduce again. You'll be one of the OG original gather, a legacy founder member of Dragon Slayers. And here's why you definitely want to pre-order the book. Only when you pre-order the book at dragonslayers.co, that's dragonslayers.co, one lucky person is going to win an epic trip with Danny and his group of Dragon Slayers. We're going to take you to Wyoming, and you're going to become truly alive in the presence of amazing men of God, and it's going to knock your socks off. All you need to do to get involved, to punch your ticket for all of that, is go to dragonslayers.co, that's dragonslayers.co, and pre-order Danny's new book, The Way of the Dragon Slayer, 7 Reasons Men Need Brothers. Do it now.
A man of covenant looks around him and he has relationships with other men decades deep, right? How long have you known Shane and John and Joe?
Yeah. Most of them at least 25 to 30 years. Yeah.
Yeah, these are the men that were with me when I got my moose. Those are my Alaska men right there. And that's 3 decades times 5, I'm the newbie, I'm the 20 guy. But yeah, these guys this is quality. This is what we're talking about. This is character, and when I think about the influence and the inspiration of being around you, Craig, in particular, is you inspire men to live deep with each other, and I think that this is something that you call out in the heart of men, is that they would make a covenant, that they would live as men of covenant. Not, I see it. We get it with our wives. Some guys get it with their wives, but this goes way bigger than that. It goes to being a man of covenant. Like, I carry covenant opportunity everywhere I go, and I will nourish relationships through that mindset. You talked about going to a men's conference and hearing the speaker talk to you about something powerful. Why don't you tell us just a minute about what changed your life so dramatically, listening to, I forgot his name.
Steve Weber.
Stu Weber. Yeah.
That's right. Stu Weber. Yeah. I was in that early stage of growing as a young Christian man, trying to learn to be a father, trying to learn to be a husband. So I was pursuing every conference, and in Alaska, there wasn't a lot of that. But I know that Dennis, our pastor, good friend, we were just trying to hit everything we could. So there was a conference, and I didn't know who Stu Weber was, but I went there, And he was speaking. I think he had at least one or two books out, but one was Tender Warrior. Really spoke to my heart, so I had read it. But during that conference time, I don't know if it was one of the sessions, he really brought about what generational meant. And it was the first time I had ever first really heard it, and then just to really to understand what it meant. I mean, he biblically gave it, but also structurally wise for what it carries and the mindset, what it means to have a generational mindset. And it definitely changed it just changed me of how I made decisions as a father, as a husband. Instead of just today or next month or what I want, it was from there forward making decisions based on generationally. What am I passing to my children, my grandchildren? What am I passing to people around me? And so it just gave me a complete different perspective of my purpose, and being able to be generationally about it. And so that was really took me on a journey of pursuing that and what it looks like. And it's been a real blessing, and I've seen the fruit of it a little bit now as I've gone forward with between kids and friends and stuff, but just seeing it in other people's lives. Because when you base a decision off of generationally, it's legacy, it's inheritance, but it's going to be passed on. It's not about you. So, like I said, so yeah,
So
definitely
important.
a turning point.
It's not about you.
It's not about you. Yeah. Lots was just said right there, Craig. I think the thing I keep thinking about, and I feel like you're putting on display one of the ways that Danny describes the role of a dragon slayer, and it's essentially that our job is to take responsibility for other men in our lives. And there's lots of things happening. Everyone's busy these days. We have our own wife and kids and jobs and just all things happening. But this doesn't take place unless each man takes responsibility for his end of the relationship and the covenant. And I think you just said it like 9 different ways today on how you've practiced and learned, and even the hunger to learn. I think that's the thing I just heard you say just now too, is this hunger to become a healthy man. Like, that's one of the things that I think men need to go find is, I need to get myself around great men, so I develop this hunger to become that thing. But just the responsibility, I'm owning responsibility to actually take men somewhere and let's do this together. That's the thing you've done so well, and that I'm so inspired by. It's so helpful to have men like you to look at and go, okay, we're learning something, and we'll do it probably out in the wilderness, doing something wild together, with great stories to come back and tell our friends about. So, thanks, Craig.
I got a picture of Craig standing by a pile of equipment. I think this was on our way to Kodiak, where you and Ben got charged by that bear. But this picture is like a snapshot to me about how you guys, how the men of Alaska just throw together things like this. Like, yeah, this is just what we do. We just kind of like load up trucks and planes and different things with survival equipment, and then we go put ourselves in harm's way for fun. Let me pull together adventures with other men to expose them to this, because it will change them forever. It's just a routine in your life. You just have, you're kind of like a lint brush. You just pick up all these guys and you end up putting them in harm's way. In more ways, just landing that plane that was full of all of this stuff on that little runway in Larson Bay I have a video of that I look at it every once in a while and just think, that right there, just that landing would scare most of the guys I know away from even going. But talk to me a little bit about what you intend. Like, you're doing this not because you need exercise. You're doing this with a group of men, maybe for the first time they've done it, or maybe they don't have dads or the means, or they would never take the time if you didn't invite them. What are you intending putting guys in an adventure and then really in front of a campfire?
Well, I love adventure. I think it's putting them in an element to where, first off, I know that most of the people I always go with, they first off appreciate it, but the real point is that push them into an element that they've never either been in, or that they just, I guess you almost want to say, they have fear about it because maybe they haven't done it, or fear that because of the unknown, or they've had a bad experience. But it also brings about just that point of challenging them. I don't care whether you're, that raft trip, I've flipped that whole thing with a full moose and everything with my son, and we dragged it down the river for a mile, and yeah, my son got out of there, he ran down. It was a bad deal. We got out and everything, we literally floated for almost a mile upside down. And, he finally had to let go. And because I yelled at him to let go because the rocks were beating him too bad. And I just held on because I knew I had to. We were literally still 6 days away, But by the time we got the raft over the edge, he finally found me down the edge of the river, But now we're soaking wet. We have nothing's good. It's snowing. So, for him, he had to go into an element of like, okay, we're going to got to strip. We got to get a fire going. We're going to be naked, and we're going to get warm, and we're going to do this, and we're going to survive. Those kind of elements put men to find out what they're made of, what they can, and I don't think you get that unless you're, put in that situation sometimes. And sometimes somebody has to kind of help you do that. And if that opportunity I get to do that to help you, that opportunity, we pursue that.
I have a great story of an opportunity you took advantage of with me. So I'm in that.
Were you scared?
Oh, geez. I was in that. We're in Alaska, and I'm, like I've talked about before, like when I'm scared, like I go fight mode. So I'm pretending like I could do, I'm white knuckling stuff. Like, oh, okay, I'm the like. Have you rode a snow machine? And I'm going, yep. And I was like, it was in Tahoe on a guided track, and the thing had a governor on it, so we can go over a certain miles per hour. Yes, I rode a snow machine.
It was tied to a pole, pulled by a pony. Right? Yeah.
So now we're 70 miles from that small one gas station that was another 70 miles from the smallest town I've ever seen. So everywhere I look around, there's just white mountains and snow. I haven't seen anything like it but the ocean, where it just is so expansive. You feel so small. Yeah. So I'm battling man in nature. I'm battling man and machine because, I'm battling men and other men because there's a bunch of guys I don't know.
Man and himself.
I got all 7 drag. My wife's I'm my wife's home with my boys. So I'm on, this is day 2. We're going out. You're taking us to go see this place. And you give us, I'm on this white snow machine that, I could tell clearly is not as big as yours or this or that. So it's some kind of beginner one. But by this time, I've ridden enough, on this thing that I'm starting to feel pretty good.
A little cocky.
I'm feeling like I'm trying to keep up with you. We've never talked about this, and I'm like, trying to stay on your tail, and I'm like trying to do little jumps and stuff. And then there's a moment where you stop, and you can't talk to anybody because you have helmets and gear. It's like you can't really say anything to anybody, so you just have to like look and do signals that everyone knew but me. And you look at me and you wave at me and you just point to your massive snow machine, and I'm like, what's going on? And you're basically telling me, switch, jump on this.
Come on, Hot Rod.
And I'm going, no, I'm happy. I'm feeling really good right now. I'm feeling awesome.
I feel good about myself.
I'm the man. I've conquered this machine. I'm man and machine, battle 1, dragon slayed. And you're like, no, dude, jump on this.
Yeah.
And again, without any conversation, I get on this thing. You kind of like point a couple different buttons. I'm like, all right. and then you proceed to leave me. Everyone else is in another line. So then I'm over here, and your snow machine, the power on that thing was probably 10x the thing I was on. I hit the throttle. It literally shot out from underneath my butt, and I was I'm in the snow up to my chest going, oh, shoot. Now you have to climb and go find it. So I do that for about an hour, where this thing is just kicking my ass up and down the thing going, this is not fun. I was having fun. This is not fun. I need to get over back to Craig.
Yeah.
So my question in there is, you knew what you were doing? Like, did you see me kind of going, all right, this sucker needs to experience this?
Well, the river was frozen because he couldn't throw you in it.
Yeah,
that's what he's saying. Yeah, that's what he's saying.
But it just was on those opportunities where you were saying, of putting a challenge to men. Of saying, hey, I'm so grateful for the experience.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying when you're in nature, you see what you're made of, you see what you can do. There's this thing that I never even dreamed to even try to do that. But now that I've done it, I walk back home 10 feet tall, and I'm telling these to my boys, and I don't tell them the scared part. I just tell them, like, yeah, Dad was ripping it on this massive snow machine. They're like, what? It was,
Hey, watch this video. That was me. That's what I was doing. Just like that guy right there. That's what I was doing.
But so as a man who's experienced this, I am so appreciative. But it feels like it unlocks something in you, and then it goes back to being in a community of other men, and why it's so great to be around guys is, people notice that thing. I come back, and we have our time together, and Danny gives me a word. Danny's like, hey, we're getting together. We just give each other words, pray for each other. We're in a group, and Danny's in my group, and Danny said, hey man, like, I feel like the Lord is actually giving you a sword that's bigger than you've ever held before, and you're learning how to wield it, just like you on that massive snow machine. Like, it was too big for you, but someone called you up and handed it to you and said, hey, you can do this, but it's going to take a while for you to figure out how to manage it. And there was a season in my life where I have been taking on more responsibility, and I felt so much like an imposter. I felt so unqualified. I was happy and confident in my abilities over here, and that step up because of a challenge. I realized that there was more to it. And that never stops. So I guess I'm just also saying thank you, Craig. Thank you for putting me on your giant snow machine.
Thanks for putting me in over my head. Yeah. Yeah, there's something to that, huh, Craig?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it happens. It happens over and over. I mean, I remember when Dixon and I showed up for that.
He's already laughing.
For that first, snow machine experience. We went out to the Hilton, which is a plywood box on some skids out in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. It's basically a life-saving shelter is what it is. But they called it the Hilton. They kept saying, we're taking you to the Hilton. We're going to the Hilton. And which had caught on fire because of some other guy that was out there. So we had to hang a tarp inside and make it half the size that it was. But it was an introduction. I don't have the picture. I wish I had thought of this, but I had this little fox hat. We had to borrow all of Craig's clothes, basically. And they have these things called bunny boots, which are they inflatable? What is going on with those bunny boots?
No, they're military. There's the military winter boot. Yeah. They do have that air decompression inside, but yeah.
Yeah. So there's just a strange thing. He's hey, you can wear these bunny boots, and I'm thinking that feels kind of girly, I don't know, bunny boots, and he brings them out. I'm like, oh, like astronauts.
They're gonna be like Ralphie in Christmas Story.
Yeah, bunny boots, gotcha. So we're all dressed up like literally like astronauts, and then we get out there, and Dixon falls off his snow machine. Like, we're not deep snow, we're just going fast, and Dixon turns and gets launched off of it, and I had it all on video, so I still entertain myself with that because it was another. I'm beyond my
Yep.
capacity. I'm beyond my comfort zone. I'm beyond anything I ever thought I would ever do. And I think that's part of the bond of brotherhood, is getting back to the Hilton, or getting back to the dog sledding cabin, or getting back to the truck or whatever, and laughing our butts off at each other, watching each other hit that edge, hit that line, hit that capacity, and listening to the guy tell the story and everybody just laughing with them. And then we make sure that we never let you forget it.
Yeah.
We just
Of course.
make sure we never let you forget that we witnessed you hitting your edge. We were there when you were so out of control. I thought you were going to cry or whatever.
I think the piece as well for me is I found myself saying for years now, I want to take trips with men, not to escape my family, but to bring something fresh back. And like every trip I've gone on, especially ones that Craig's led with us, I've come back with something fresh for my wife and my family, that something's changed inside of me because I hit my edge.
Yep.
Because I found that experience. And that's kind of the key for me, is something happens inside of me when I put myself around men that have something that I need. I bring something fresh back. So
yeah, say more. Keep saying something or more about that concept, because it's worth pausing for. This idea of I'm going on a trip to Alaska. I'm going on a hunting trip. I'm going to XYZ, whatever, with a group of guys, not to escape my family, but to bring something back.
Yeah.
Like,
Craig, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, actually, the thing is it's kind of interesting, is I think if you come back with that, I might be a little off track here, but I was thinking about my wife. She has seen the value, not only in myself, but in my sons and even the people around her. She sees such a value. I've never had her say, "You cannot go on a trip."
Mm-hmm.
Not that she's not going to miss me, not that I'm going to not miss her, but she sees the value better than most men probably do. And because she's seen where I've come back, or my sons have come back, or other guys on trips, and she actually encourages that. And I guess I'm saying is, if you want to go on a lot of trips, you need to make sure that the good one is you do come back with life-changing things that actually is going to better fit the family, who you are, and I mean, I say that in a laughing way, but I am dead serious that value of bringing something back to give, and it's seen. You not just come back and it dies off, but there is a life change there. And so I first thought of my wife, because she'll tell you over and over, "No, you go, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah, I have my mentors, and this could just be me. I'm kind of funny like this, but I have some rocks that I found on the shore in Kodiak that still sit on my bedside table. I have some glasses that Todd Pierce gave me on a trip, different man trip, but he gave me this word with these glasses about a new perspective God was giving me. They sit behind my bed. The bullet that shot the bear that you found, I think, that sits behind me still. It's this ruined little piece of metal that just reminds me. The bear sits in my living room, and I walk by it and I'll touch it. Every time I walk by it, it reminds me of the destiny that God's put in my life. But it's these things that take me back to a moment with other men that changed something my family's still benefiting from. So it's just such a key for me. Like this is not men just trying to get out and do something different and escape their families. It's really men doing what we should be doing with other men. And then when we get back, there really is a life change. When I first met your wife at the airport after that trip with the bear charging, she had she had quite a statement for me. I think she asked if I found my manhood or something. I forget how she said it exactly, but it was pretty funny because she gets the benefit. She understands it. She's awesome.
So good.
I'm desperately trying to get a picture to
Eric,
these guys, so I can show you what it what it looks like when we come on.
While you're trying to get it going, I think the part to touch on still too is I know for me it's a struggle. Personally, I have like an internal conflict sometimes when we're planning a man trip, because right now I'm in a season where I got young boys at home and that sort of thing, and it feels like I'm abandoning my post to some degree, because I know the strain it's going to put on my wife or my family when my strength leaves the household and goes away. But I've also experienced the beauty of I've done that. I've actually went and come back a changed man. So it's like, hey, these trips work if and only you come back a changed man.
Yeah.
My question in there is, maybe to Ben and to Craig a little bit, is it sounds like there just really needs to be the intention, and that's a desired goal for you, that you want to come back a changed man for your family. Or is there something special that needs to happen other than that? So, it might be a guy listening going, yeah, I have that. It is a struggle for me to leave my family, or that's a hard sell. Maybe they're going to give me more advice because I want to make this pitch to my wife where it makes sense that I'm going to become back a changed man. But is there a formula for that other than when you leave, you have that intention?
Well, I have an image in my head that I think what happens is you can maybe just promise your girl that when you get back from one of these adventures, this is, you got it going on. And you just say, honey, I tell you what, if you want me to get in touch with my inner man, this is if you're listening to this, then you wonder what we're laughing about. So you have to get on YouTube and watch it. But this really is kind of the testosterone jump that happens in all of these things, all these great adventures that get your heart pumping deeper than you can remember. And I think it very much is, I could have died.
Totally.
But I didn't,
Yeah.
But we didn't. How many of those can we do?
My only response, and I would love to hear Craig's thought on your question too. And you should go check out this picture if you're listening right now. It's probably better you go look at it than us describe it.
I kind of wanted you to describe it.
I'll let Craig describe it. But the only piece I would say to your question is I think part of the pitch to your wife, as you put it, is for me it's about the men that are going. Like if the men you're surrounding yourself with are the kind of men that may not produce this, I don't know why you would do that. But the men that do produce this, that's a big yes right there. Like, honey, these men have something I need, and something's going to shift when I get around them. Like last time I did it. So that's my only thought there.
That's a great point. Like, I'm going to Vegas with Joe, Bob, and Steve, and they're famous for partying and
exactly.
And like she's gonna be like, sure, you're coming back.
Yeah, have a great time.
Yeah, don't do that. That's not what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, Craig, thank you, man, for taking the time. Really appreciate you in my life, and all of us. I mean, every man that I know that knows you has the deepest respect for who you are, how you live your life, and really how you treat the people around you. So thanks so much, buddy.
Yeah.
And God bless you, and thank you.
Thanks, Craig.
Thank you guys. Been an honor. Blessings.
Thanks, Greg. You're the man.